You're listening to the You Get to Decide podcast with your host, Allison Cratchola Gallagher, and this is episode 91. Welcome to the You Get to Decide podcast. This podcast is for the driven woman who's ready to stop spinning her wheels and start creating unstoppable momentum towards the life she truly wants. A life she decides on purpose with unlimited potential. I am your host and life coach, Allison Gallagher. Each week, you'll learn how to manage your mind so it finally works for you instead of against you, creating more clarity, calm, confidence, inspired action, and a whole lot of ease. This is where you learn to finally come home to yourself and live as the woman you've always meant to be. And when women choose themselves, they don't just rise, the whole world rises with them. Let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to You Get to Decide. In the last few weeks, I've gotten so many random messages from strangers that I had no idea were listening to my podcast. So fun. And I'm just feeling so grateful for my past self, for the commitment, and for anyone out there that's listening that I get to help. Whether you ever come into my circle physically or in any of my coaching containers or not, I am honored to be in your world and to share my wisdom with you. I was just listening to a coach talking about getting paid being yourself. And this podcast episode is going to be about money. And I could talk so much about money. I actually just met with a local female financial advisor, and we are talking about doing meetings, workshops together for women about money, because women are talking to me and saying, I want to be in rooms with other women that are talking about money. And I was talking to this financial advisor about this because I'm in rooms with people talking about women talking about money all the time. And I forget that a lot of women are not. We talk about money in my coaching containers. I talk about money with my coaches. I'm in coaching groups. I'm always talking about money. And I forget that women especially are not in rooms where we talk about money. And I hang out with a lot of entrepreneurs, and you have to talk about money if you want to make a lot of money. So we decided that we're moving forward with creating some workshops, just some rooms for women to come into. I can teach these concepts, but also just to ask questions and learn, right? Because money can be heavy. And I'm going to tell you the 10 things if money makes you anxious, the 10, kind of like there's more than 10, but just the things I would want you to know. I've never done a podcast like this. I've done a lot of episodes around my relationship with money, and I've had my coach tell me that I'm going to end up being a money coach. I don't see that today, but I could speak to so much of money can feel hard. And I'm going to go into what that means because that thought is going to block you from making money. So I've had such a journey with money that I can speak to so many different women about where they are, meet them where they are, and also walk them towards what they want. I want more women to make money. I want everyone to make more money doing what they love, especially women. Okay, there's not enough women. My business coach just gave me a statistic, or gave us a statistic that from 2023, how many women were outgrowing men in entrepreneurship. But women are more likely to close their business, walk away from their business, or quit because of family things, personal things, right? And if more women understood their leadership with their own money, they wouldn't have to walk away from their business, or they could create different solutions, right? Money doesn't fix things. Like, it doesn't fix our life. And I'll kind of go into that. Oh, yes, it creates less problems, more solutions. Okay. But it doesn't fix, it doesn't change. Money can't create emotion. Okay. I'm going to talk further about that as well. We want to make money because of how it feels to have that amount of money, right? To give us vacations or homes or pay for our family and children. Like, that's because we want to evoke a feeling. Think about it. That's why we want money. We want the feeling of freedom, the feeling of options, the feeling. But you can access that feeling. It's actually in your best interest to access that feeling now, because that's how you attract more money, by actually matching the energy of the feeling of fun, of the feeling of freedom, of the feeling of power, abundance. That's the fastest way to create money. And I'll go into why. Okay. So money is neutral. So if you're anxious about money, these are the 10 plus things that I hope you walk away transformed. Okay. Money is neutral. Money can't create anything for you. Okay. It is neutral. Now, it's easier said than done. We live in a really, we live in a scarcity world. Prices are going up. People are strapped. I get it. But overall, it cannot create safety, full connected safety for us, because it's not a controlled thing. And safety can come inside of us at any time. And here's the evidence I want to give, because there are people that have $0 in their life and they are at peace. They're at peace. There are people on this planet that are at peace with no money. And there are people making, that we're in, what day is it? We're in March of 2026, and there's a lot of things going on in this world that are being revealed about people that are in power with money, and the absolute abuse, evil humans, evil things that they have done, and they are worth millions and billions of dollars. So there are people that are totally disconnected from life and happiness and joy and have millions of dollars. So we think money is going to make us happy. Proof is that there's millionaires and billionaires on this planet that are not happy. They are like the most empty, some of them. I have a ton of evidence of millionaires around me that are fulfilled, happy. Okay? But what got them there was the fulfillment, feeling fulfilled ahead of time, feeling happy ahead of time. Okay, so it can go both ways. There are people that are petrified of running out of money that have millions of dollars in the bank. They live in scarcity and fear. And then there's people that have $0 on this planet and dance around in their simple life and do not care. So that is the evidence I want you to look at. And we hold all the things as truth. Right? That some form of dollars coming in creates sanity and safety. Yes, I get that. But there's also evidence of the contrary. So I hold both. Okay? And what that looks like for balance for me as an entrepreneur over 20 years or whatever, when there was times where there's no money coming in, because that is realistic as we build businesses, shift businesses, seasonal work. Okay, and what that looks like for me as far as safety, but the biggest shift for me was letting go of my bank account had to create safety for me, because that creates such attachment that you will run out of money. The fear that I had was straight up panic in the middle of the night, plaguing fear, like just dysregulated nervous system, like just constant fight or flight panic. And for me, I freeze. Okay. And that came from identity, which I'll go into. But this is what I want to offer. Money is neutral. Okay. It's energy. It's going to reflect back to you who you are. That's all it does. It's a relationship it's a mirror. It's reflecting back to you who you are. So if you're petrified of running out of money, or you're just fearful and in lack, that's what it will reflect for you. And that's what you'll think of and feel when you work with it. Like, I came from my wounds, I'll say, were growing up, money was a form of connection in my family. Okay. My dad used it to connect with us. That's how he was raised. He was raised to use money to connect with his people. And then my dad was a very successful entrepreneur in his heyday. And then as he got older, he wasn't able to make money. And it broke him. It absolutely broke him. And I didn't know why at the time, but to him, he was losing connection. And when I cut him off financially, that killed him. And I didn't understand. I was cutting off connection to him, not knowing, right? Emotional connection. I was cutting connection off to him, and he could not handle that. But I was like, you're like, it was so toxic. Like, he would dangle money over my head, and I stopped taking it because it always came at a price. Okay. So for me, I entered my marriage thinking I had to regulate my money. If I ran out of money, I would lose connection. This was stored in my nervous system, okay, as an identity from my childhood, not knowing that my dad was using money to connect with me, okay. Subconsciously, it was stuck in my nervous system, but consciously, I did not know that until I became a coach and started to work on my own relationship with money. Literally, only a few years ago, I saw this. But my nervous system knew, okay, which is why this work can be so nuanced, which is I always recommend a guide to do it with you, because I couldn't see this. And this was big. So I would control money not to lose connection. So I would have restriction every time I spent money. Every time I spent money, I had restriction because I'm like, I can't run out of money. If I run out of money, I will lose my family. Like, and that felt true in my body, but I didn't know why it was there or where it was coming from. Okay. So money is energy. It reflects back to you what you believe and who you are being. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to stay on task, and I'm also going to read some. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm like going to look over at the screen. So your internal state, I wrote down, your internal state drives your financial behavior. Okay, we have full control over how much money we make. Full control. And there's a part of my brain that still doesn't want to believe that and wants to question it, because my worth was connected to my bank account. And when my worth was connected to my bank account for so many years, I mean, it's not now, but for so many years when my worth was connected to my bank account, if my bank account dipped, which it does, being an entrepreneur, it's up and down, right? I would go into a state of lack and scarcity because I connect it to my worth. Okay. And then when you show up in the energy of you don't have enough, you create not enough. That's what happens with money. And our income rises to the, what did I write? Our income rises to the level that you can emotionally hold. Capacity is huge with money. Capacity. That's why if someone dropped $100,000 on your doorstep, okay, some people would handle it no problem. It would just be another day. They move money here, they put money here, they spend some here, and they're good. Some people would go into a state of panic, hoard it, hide it, okay, not let anybody know. Some people would, I'm going to put 30% here. I'm going to, let me study. Let me ask some questions. This is super cool. Let's see what happens. Some people would spend into an oblivion, end up in prison. It depends on how much you can hold, right? That's why these people win the lottery. And then there's all these stories about they didn't build a capacity to hold that amount of money. And if your nervous system's going to reject the money, doesn't think it's safe, that it's dangerous, you'll spend it. You'll sabotage. Okay. So, and this is holding it, building capacity is about energy. When you have restriction, if your money makes you anxious, holding more money is going to bring in more anxiousness. That's all it's going to do. Because it's literally not about the money. It's about your thoughts about the money. And more money will create more anxiety because there's more to worry about. Okay, which is why I want everyone to neutralize their anxiety around money, because I want you to make more of it. I want you to have all the money in the world so that you can take really good care of your family and yourself. And that is available to everybody, all of us, with this work. So I'm going to move on to, that was kind of like the introduction, but I've already given a few. What we focus on, we get more of. Okay? If you're constantly thinking that you're not enough, that there's not enough, that's what your nervous system is going and brain is going to scan for. Not enough, and then that's what you're going to find. Okay? Your brain is going to build a case for what you see. And so if you want to not have anxiousness around your money, start to sit in richness. Read the book, The Having. Read the book, The Having. Read The Soul of Money. I'll put them in the show notes. The Having talks about rich people just sit in the energy of having money and being grateful for what they have right now. That's it. That's it. Right? And then it takes time. Okay? But what happens when you sit in that energy of enough and having and richness and abundance and sufficiency, here's the deal. You calm down. You calm down and then you act differently. When you're coming from restriction, fear, anxiousness of not enough, your nervous system is flared, and then you act from scarcity. And those are not going to be abundant money-making activities. When you come from abundance and joy and enoughness and having, sitting in riches, like I am rich, and sitting in that belief and feeling your vibration rise, you have to believe it, right? But I just believe we're all rich. We're all rich. There's always riches we can find. Like if I never make another dollar, I am beyond rich. I'm beyond rich. If I never make another penny, literally in my body, that is my ultimate truth. I'm unattached. I'm unattached to money. And I've created some situations that I was able to do that. And I have debt. And I have debt. Okay? I don't magically have millions of dollars in the bank. Okay? But I sit in the richness. I'm not chasing money. And when you don't chase, you attract. Okay? I spent a lot of years chasing money. It did me no good. It made me emotionally I don't ever want to go back to those days, but I'm so grateful for what I've been through. And I can walk anyone through it. Attention is direction, and direction creates results. Attention is direction, direction creates results. So if you're looking at all the ways you don't have enough and all the ways you're running out of money, first of all, when I thought I was running out of money, that would put me into freeze in my nervous system. And when I freeze, I can't do anything. I can't do any money-making activities. Okay? I can't even show up and have a conversation with someone. Right? The neediness, the energy of that will detract people, especially if you're in sales. If you're in sales, your energy around money is everything. If you are afraid you're running out of money and you're trying to sell to someone, different things are going to come out of your mouth. You're going to be graspy. You're going to be salesy. It's going to be all about you, and it's not going to feel good. And you make less money. So maybe I went through this one, but I'm going to go through it again. Your anxiety is not about money. It's the trigger. Safety is the issue, right? So, and here's how I know this. I would have restriction every time I spent money. And I knew that was cutting me off from making more money. Okay? Because the universe is not going to give me more of what I already am scared of. Right? The universe doesn't want us to fail. Okay. And if I'm feeling, and money is about it's a relationship. Okay. This is how I've been taught to look at it. And this is how I look at it. Does money want to be around me? Do I treat it well? Do I talk about it well? Am I graspy? Am I chasing it? Because it's a relationship, right? Does someone want to be in my world if I'm chasing them, needing them, grasping onto them? Please don't leave. You're never here enough, right? That's not, the money is going to be like, I can't be around her. Okay. Instead, I really love my money. I am so grateful for every penny that comes into my business. I love how I treat my money. My wallet is very clean. I do money dates. I really look at my money, take care of my money. Okay. And there were days where I'm not like this, and I'll share with you what it looks like to when it's hard, because we can't not look at our money. That's trauma, and I'll get to that one. That's actually the next one. But our body is reacting to the uncertainty, to the fear of running out, the fear of it not being enough, or not being worthy. Like, I didn't think I was worthy of making money. And now I'm like, oh, this is a skill. Anyone can learn how to make money and hold money. It's a skill, right? It's not worth. There's no worth here. We all have infinite worth. You can't put a dollar sign on a human being. Okay? We get paid by the value we put out into the world, and then we get paid for it. That's how we get paid. Okay? And that could be through a paycheck at a job. That could be through a creative idea that you had that you market and put out into the world. I mean, think about value. Think about YouTubers and the value that they create. You may not value what they put out, but somebody does. That's it. And most people on the planet that get paid really well, especially as entrepreneurs, they're just being themselves. They're just being themselves. That's it. They just had an idea that came authentically through them, and they put it out into the world, and they're getting paid for their creativity. Let me see. So we have to solve for the safety, not the dollars. We can solve for the dollars, right? But even after how do I say this, right? Because I have debt. But there was a time where my debt was like overpowering my safety mechanism, okay? So I understand solving for our money and solving for safety without the money changing. And I've done both, okay? But when I solved for my money situation, financial situation, my body still did not feel safe. That's how I knew it wasn't the circumstance of how much money is in your bank account. It's literally my nervous system. That was the evidence that my nervous system, the restriction did not go away. And my financial situation changed. I had to go into the body, and I had to calm her down. Different parts of me from when I was a kid. Receiving didn't feel safe. This is all energy. If I don't feel safe receiving, first of all, the universe is going to give me less to receive if I'm not grateful to receive, and I'm cutting myself off from receiving or support. I was also cutting a lot of my debt came because I thought I had to do it alone, and I was cutting myself off from receiving support. I thought I had to do it alone. And there were times in my life financially I could not do it alone. But I thought it was my responsibility to do it alone, and I created debt. Some of it. Because I cut myself off from receiving support. Okay? And that is a form of control. That is not in flow. That's not in abundance. That's control, restriction, fear. And that's not money-making energy. Avoiding your bank account is not the answer, ever. Okay? And I think there's so many women that are afraid to look at their numbers. I tell all of my coaching clients, count every penny that comes into your business. Write it down. Celebrate it. I have a book that I use to track every penny that's come into my business for the last 5 years. It's all in the same book, all added up. I can look at any now. I mean, of course we can do that with QuickBooks and things, but I literally write it down. I'm a Gen Xer. Okay. That I write everything down. Day planners. I can literally go into this book and look what I made in February of 2022. And I love that. And the numbers are not drama. Like they're just math. It's just data. Right? Because I would tell the story about what these numbers mean, and they were never meant well. I remember I made like $12,000 in like 20 days, and I was walking the dog with my husband, and I was like, I'm afraid of running out of money. I had just made $12,000 in 20 days, and not even 20 days, not even. And I was afraid of running out of money. I made $28K in like less than 30 days. And I was afraid to spend money, and I was afraid of running out of money. That is trauma. That is identity. That is nervous system. That's not about the money. It's never going to be enough if I didn't heal the body. Okay? So in order to create safety, right, we have to sit into the present moment, hand on chest, sit in the okayness of this moment. You need nothing in this moment, even if you don't know where dinner's coming from or tomorrow's breakfast. You're literally safe in this moment. How do we know? Because you're alive. Your heart is beating. You're breathing. Center it in that way to show your body that it's not the money, that it's literally the body. Right? And so I would avoid my bank account. And when I would sit down in my bank account, I would spiral in fear and shame and just fear, just total fear of feeling like I was out of control. And then I would avoid it. But then I realized the future version of me that makes the money that I want to make, she doesn't ever avoid her numbers. She doesn't make any drama about it. She just looks at it as data, decides what she needs to do to solve for it, and she trusts herself. She trusts her actions. She trusts people want to pay her. She knows how to make money. Like avoiding the bank account keeps you stuck. So you have to process what the bank account is making you feel and sit down and face your numbers. I once heard someone on a podcast, this was a woman, she was like $600,000 in debt. And she was like, I got to a point where I knew my debt wasn't going to physically harm me. Right? And I'm sure so for me, debt was like epic failure. For me, debt was just like immoral and irresponsible. And I come from a long line of bankruptcy, right? So I'm like, I'm no different than my family. I'm going to put my family on the street and all the fucking drama. And when I heard her say her debt physically can't hurt her, like it's just a number on a screen, right? To simplify it, and I was like, wow, what a way to look at it. Right. And I don't know if anyone follows Mel Robbins, but she was like $800,000, $900,000 in debt. And now who knows how much millions of dollars she has in the bank. Right. It literally can be temporary if we think of it that way. And I've had financial people tell me, right, my financial advisor is my very best friend. And he's like, Allison, you have no idea what people are going through, like how much debt people are in. And I don't know. But for me, my debt was like immoral and all these things. And I had to neutralize it. Like, no, it's my past self and the things that she did to survive. Literally, your money that you have right now is your past self created that money. Okay? And at any time, you can create more money. Way more than you're creating right now. Okay? So it's literally your past self catching up to you in your bank account because it's decisions you've made in the past. And so you can change it at any time. Okay? So I neutralized my debt. I realized that I am rich even with my debt. Like, and it's so funny because there's coaches that won't even say the word. They spell it out. And I've said it like 100 times, but I just don't think it has any power over me. And I think I don't think I'm going to ever recreate it. Okay. But I had to neutralize it. It's not hurting me. It is decisions I made in the past from survival mode. I did not feel safe. And so I spent more than I had. Over and over. Because I did not feel safe. Because I don't overspend on, like, for me, like, I don't buy material things. That's not what I spend my money on. It was business, it was coaching, it was private school for my daughter. During COVID, there was times where I was scrambling and I paid for her to be in school during COVID so that she could be in a classroom. And some of that created the debt. Like when I look back, it was like business. It was things those are the things that I value. We spend money on what we value. Right? So I look back and I'm like, I love what I spent my money on. I really do. Right? But I also, I'm not going to end up but I was also in survival mode, right? I was trying to create safety by spending money on the things I was buying, right? I didn't feel safe with my daughter being at home on a laptop, trying to learn in education. She was in 4th grade. So I created safety, regulated my nervous system by paying for my daughter to be in school because that created safety for me. I'm okay with that. Like, I value my daughter. I value my brain. I value business and everything that I've learned. There could have been some vacations in there. Well, I value vacations. Right? So it could be worse. And I don't want you to, if you are in debt, just take a look at it neutrally. What am I buying? Why am I buying it? Because, I don't know, here's the next one. So avoiding your bank account is a protective measure. You're trying to protect yourself. You don't have to protect yourself. Sit and look at your numbers, man, and let them be neutral. And this is what I do in my coaching containers. It is neutral. It is data. It is math. That's it. Don't add the story. Okay, this is what I bought when. What was I feeling? And I've also had people say to me, and this goes to food too, right? They're so aligned, both food and money, all the things that I've had struggled with is, what feeling am I trying to create in myself by spending this money or by eating this thing? What feeling am I trying to create? Just feel the feeling. Feel the fucking feeling. I want to feel abundant and buy a new pair of whatever. Just feel abundant. And then don't buy the thing. It's hard, but it's simple. You're not bad with money. I don't think anyone's bad with money. We overspend or we underspend is the same root. It's coming from the same trauma. I don't think anyone's bad with money. I think that we're dysregulated and we're trying to create safety. That's it. I think deep down we understand, like, we spend money on what we value. And when we are in a regulated nervous system, we spend money differently. So solving for it is the body. Right? I didn't feel safe receiving because my father used money as a form of control. Listen, I love my father. He was amazing. He was a freaking rock star. Okay. And yes, I share some things about him in these podcasts to teach, to bring awareness. Okay. And my father is gone. He died in 2009. Okay. But he only knew what he knew. And every time, because I think he bought things I'm going to diagnose him, but he bought things for us to regulate his nervous system. That's why he would buy things for us. He loved showering us with gifts, expensive, lavish vacations. I mean, the lavish vacations I went on as a kid are like mind-blowing. Okay. And here's what would happen. He would buy me something to regulate his nervous system. He didn't know he was doing that, but he wanted to really feel good. And then he didn't feel as good as he hoped because he was trying to solve for the wrong thing. He didn't feel as good as he hoped, and then he would make us feel like shit. So for me, I'd get something that was really important for me, and I was super excited to receive. And then on the other side of it, in some way, he would make me feel like shit about it. Because deep down, it didn't do for him what he needed. And so he would portray that onto me, shame. in some way. What did I learn? It's not safe to receive. That it's going to be taken away, that something bad on the other side is going to happen. And that is still in my nervous system, and I'm working on her. That's why I cut myself off from support, and that's why I was spending money I didn't have and not asking for help. Whatever that looked like. There was a lot of resources that I had, but because I was in freeze and panic, I didn't see the sources. I didn't see the resources. Because my belief was like, I have to do this on my own. I can't ask people for help. I can't be a burden. And so I had to deal with it on my own and hold it and hold it and hold it. That's survival. That's not open to flow and sufficiency and enoughness. That's saying I'm not enough. I can't show anybody. I can't ask for help. No. And I opened myself up to receive support and the vulnerability. There's so many of us that feel vulnerable asking for support. It was very vulnerable to raise my hand and say, I need support. But that opened me up to a level of abundance that's absolutely beautiful. And I ended up seeing solutions for my financial situations that I never saw before, that actually weren't solved in the way I thought they were going to be if I had asked for support. I'm like, I can't just ask for support like someone else pay these bills, right? But opening myself up to support with my husband, with conversations with people, I opened myself up to flow. Just deciding that I'm allowed to talk about this and ask for support in whatever way that is. And that I don't mean like I didn't ask people to pay for my debt, but like my husband would buy the groceries when I couldn't buy the groceries, instead of me being like, I have to buy all the things and he cannot know like what the financial situation I'm in. Instead, I'm like, babe, I need help with the groceries. Like I need help here. I need help there. And just opening myself up to the vulnerability of that. Because growing up, like my dad put pressure on my mom to make money. She was a stay-home mom. That they decided together that she was going to be a stay-home mom. And then later on, he put pressure on her that she wasn't making money. She had no retirement, this and that. And he would torture her. So I was like, holy crap, I have to make money. I have to make a certain amount of money to have worth in my marriage. And so, of course, I didn't want to show my husband that I was struggling financially. Because to me, that was losing connection. I'm so grateful my husband puts up with all my shit. So you're not bad with money. I thought I was irresponsible with money. I'm not irresponsible with money. I love how I spend money. I totally love how I spend money. But I learned that by looking at the patterns of how I spend my money, right? And if I didn't love it, I always think about, why did I buy that? Did I need it? Okay. And I love how I spend money. And when we trust how we spend money, we relax. And then we're not trying to follow me here. Okay. When we trust how we spend money, we're not trying to regulate our nervous system with money. We feel safe. So then we spend from our truth and not from a dysregulated nervous system. So it actually creates the results of probably spending less money. Just by trusting that we're responsible with money could shift how we spend money. But you have to believe it. So overspending, underspending are from the same root, right? Some people overspend to regulate their nervous system. So I would underspend to regulate my nervous system. Okay. Regardless of the debt, I underspend. Like I restrict. I did the same thing with money I did with food. Restrict to control. Like every time I spend money, it's like, right? And I had to I love what, oh God, I forget what her name. She's like one of the first business coaches. But every time she spends money, she's like two coaches. Every time one of the women, I forget her name, dude. She has the B school. I forget her name. But whenever she would spend money, she would say, there's so much more out there coming back to me, or something she would say. She would just put out into the universe, there's triple the amount of coming back to me. My other coach says, good thing I'm rich. Good thing I'm rich. Every time she spends money or a big bill comes in, she would say, good thing I'm rich. And she wasn't rich. She was not rich. She was just getting by. Okay. And now she has millions of dollars deep. Right. But she started out saying she was rich. You don't wait to be rich to decide you're rich. You have to decide first and sit in the energy of richness. And then when you go out, especially as entrepreneurs, and then when you go out and you do money-making marketing activities, you're so regulated, you're like, I don't need this. And then you're not attached. You can be capable and still be terrified. And if that's you, it's okay. I have been absolutely terrified of my bank account. Terrified. But all that terrifiedness came from the stories I told myself because I was actually okay the whole time. I was never not okay. So you can be capable and still be terrified. Hand on chest, connect with safety in that moment, sit down and look at your numbers. Or add up how much you made last month. And then all the stories are going to come. Just decide not to attach yourself to any story other than this is the amount of value I put out into the world last month. How much value do I want to put out into the world to create X amount of dollars? You have to say you want to make 100K, 200K, 500K, like, I don't know, $1 million, whatever people want to make that's out there. Wherever your ceiling is. Your ceiling is what your nervous system can hold. So I would imagine, I'll never forget, I don't know how many years ago, imagining making $300,000 and having total restriction in my chest. And I was listening to a coach at the time who made me realize, because I did not know, like 5 years ago, that feeling restriction in my chest when I thought about making $300,000 a year, I was never going to make it if I had restriction in my chest because my body was going to be like, hell to the no. Okay? And if you have been listening to me for 90 episodes, I'm going to assume you know that the nervous system is the gateway to the life we want. And so if my body is saying, that is not safe, well, the work is to create safety in your body for how much money you want to make. So decide how much money you want to make. Think about making that money and see what your body does. If you have exhilaration and a flutter, if you have restriction and tightness doesn't feel safe. That work is to create safety in your body for that amount of money. And like me and my coaching containers, I do identity blueprints with my clients so that we sit in the energy of the identity we want to step into. And that amount of money is in that identity because it's energy, right? We want to raise our vibration to match that energy of that amount of money. So think about the amount of money you want to make. And this is like a little experiment. And if your body rejects it, the work is to create safety in your body for that amount of money. And then go out and do the money-making activities and decide it's coming. It literally can be that simple. We make money with our mind. And you cannot build wealth from panic, man. If you're panicked around your money and you're trying to build wealth or buy real estate, right? Me and my husband tried to buy real estate, dude. Oh my God, my nervous system could not handle it. I was like 24. Me and my husband, we could not handle it. I don't know if I could handle it now. Maybe I could. But I could not. I was dysregulated. My nervous system is so dysregulated. I would go to the post office looking for checks, man, from rent. I couldn't handle it. And my husband couldn't handle it. We both were like, this isn't for us, right? It's nervous system having rental properties or buying investment properties or whatever that is. It's nervous system to take the risk. Right? So if you want to build wealth, you cannot do it through panic, through restriction, through tightness, through anxiousness. Please solve for the anxiousness first and then make your millions. It will be so much more fun. We make money with our mind, right? Which I've kind of reflected through this whole thing. And when you're in fear and restriction, you're going to cut yourself off from the money-making thoughts. Like money comes from the universe. There's another book called It's Not Your Money. Great book. I don't know any of the authors. I'll put them all in the show notes. It's Not Your Money is like such a fantastic book. Okay. And it's all about flow. But we co-create with the universe with thought downloads of ideas, money-making ideas. And then we take action. That's how we make money. And when we're in fear and it's not enough and I'm not good enough and no one cares and all these low vibe thoughts, we can't make money from that place. I mean, people do. People do. Like, I'm impressed with some of the ways people make money that are in total fight or flight or panic or total dysregulated nervous system. And they go out and make a lot of money. I could not do it. Right. And I think most people can't, which is why they end up in burnout, because they're they're leading with the wrong energy, right? Like, I'm an identity coach. They're leading their life to create the life of their dreams with the identity of not enough, doubt, fear, it's not working. And they're dragging themselves with that identity leading them, right? I teach to quiet those identities, make them feel safe so they don't have to lead the show, and you step forward. Self-leadership. Like, that's what I teach in my coaching containers. Okay? Because the anxiousness, the fear, the lack, I can't receive, it's not safe to be seen, it's not safe to hold money. Like, if you think rich people, like, I'm watching these people say these things about billionaires, right? And there's a part of me that's like, oh, the evilness that's in billionaires, but I don't believe every billionaire is evil. I would never believe that. I'm not going to believe anything negative about money, people that make lots of money. Yes, there's people that are billionaires that are evil, but they were probably evil with $500 in the bank. That's it. It just expands on who you are. I believe that I was reading about the billionaire that owns Hermes. I don't know if he's the owner or the CEO, but this man, see, no one talks about him. Let me tell you about the billionaire that either he's the CEO of Hermes or owner. I don't know, but he's some billionaire. Jeffrey Epstein tried to do business with him. Okay. We're knee deep in these Epstein files, and I've gone down some serious rabbit holes, and I'm trying to manage my mind around it right there with you. He tried to bring Hermes into his world. Okay. Hermes said, no, thanks. I don't want to be involved with you. Then Jeffrey Epstein sent a large check to Hermes's foundation that they created. I'm probably not getting this uber accurate, but it's somewhere in this world. So Epstein sent him this large check towards his charity because he's trying to bring him into his world, right? Like, this is what Epstein did. Hermes, this dude, I don't know his name, sent the check back to Jeffrey Epstein and said, no, dude, I know who you are. I don't want your money. Sent the money back. Didn't even want his evil ass money in his charity. Then what he turned around did is this Hermes guy. He wrote the check himself from his own bank account for the money that Jeffrey Epstein was trying to give to his charity. We don't hear this in the news. I had to dig to hear this. And he's a billionaire. I'm never going to think all billionaires, all millionaires are evil. Fuck that. Nope. Because where I'm going, I don't want to even put that out into the world that I believe that around money, because money just expands in who you are. If you're evil poor, you're going to be evil rich. And I'm not evil. So if whatever amount of money I want to make in my life, I don't know when I'm going to want to stop. Who knows? It's just going to expand on my heart. The value I offer, the way I give. That's it. I'm never going to say bad things about it, blatant statements. Okay? I hear my mind. I see my mind wanting to do it. I'm not going to. I focus on the people like Hermes. I focus on the women that I know that are millionaires and how they spend their money. Okay? And I'm like, oh, that's who I would be. Because I don't believe that money is evil. I don't believe I'll become evil. I don't believe I'll lose people. Like, if you believe you get rich and you're going to lose your family, you will block yourself from getting rich. I don't believe I'll lose my family. My husband's coming with me wherever I go. I'm bringing him. And I won't ever sacrifice my family for any amount of money. Ever. Never. And there was a time where I would have, because I was so driven. It didn't matter. No one was going to get in my way. I was going to be successful. I would have left everyone in the dust. That was a wound. That was a wound coming from I have to produce to earn, to be worthy. Fuck that. I am worthy and I need to produce nothing. The value I have as a breathing Allison is more than enough. More than enough. And my family is my everything. I'm not sacrificing anything for my family. Not for business. My family is it for me. And I love what I do. But I get to do it. It's a choice. It's a choice. And I'm not sacrificing my family. So the more money I make for my family, with my family, through me to support my family, is only going to enhance my family. But we actually don't need it. We are full of richness in this house without another penny. That is my healing, because I was not like that. And that is actually my truth. That is my truth. And that's evidence of healing. And I don't know if that triggers you, but that's how you attract money. That's how you attract dollars, is by being completely unattached. Because the version of me that has the money I want, it's neutral. It's neutral to her because she has it already. She doesn't need it because she has it. And I want to match that identity because I'm creating safety in my nervous system to hold that money. That's what that is. Matching the energy is creating safety in the nervous system to hold that amount of money. I feel completely safe holding that amount of money because I've practiced it in my body so much. And here's what else I know. And I'll leave you with this because I was not expecting it to be this long, but money is a big subject. But I sit in the version of me that creates the money I want to make so much that I knew, and my coach said this to me, and she has said this to us, and I've learned this over time. How you are here is how you are there. Okay? It's not going to make your life perfect. We think the perfect body, the perfect job, the perfect business, the perfect amount of money in the bank account is when we arrive. Life is still 50-50. We're going to have problems. We might even have more problems if we have more money, depending on what that looks like for us, right? More clients, bigger business, or just more to manage. It doesn't make life perfect. It doesn't. It's only for the feeling that you want to have. Again, that's it, right? Like, why would I want to be a certain weight? For a feeling. For a feeling of how I look or how I feel. It's the same thing. Just create that feeling ahead of time. Sufficiency, enoughness, excitement, feeling complete, feeling joy, feeling achievement. Oh God, my dog is barking. I'm sorry. Harper. No. Harper. I'm going to continue to roll. So I have created the feeling in my body so many times of arriving at that amount of money that what dropped in for me was, I would totally be like, okay, I've arrived. What's next? Okay, this was cool. What's next? I know that I'm never going to be fully satisfied, because it's not about the money. It's about the journey. It's about the challenge. It's about becoming the person. It's about the expansion. Is the journey, that's what is in the fulfillment, not the arrival. I could feel it in my body, like, okay, the money is here. I'd be like, oh, all right, what's next? I would be bored. And that's why it's not about the money. So I just get to enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey, the learning, the failure, the growth, the evolution of me. and the rest will take care of itself. Now, I'm speaking from the angle of an entrepreneur, okay? Because that's what I am. And entrepreneurs make money in different ways than in a corporate, right? Climbing the ladder and all those things. But in the end, we make money with our mind. And so if you are like, I'm not good enough, I'm having imposter syndrome, right? Those heavy thoughts, you're not going to go in and ask for the money you want. It's a lot of it is the same. Like I coach people in my coaching containers that feel like they're a burden, that think they're too much. They're not allowed to raise their hand. And then they don't negotiate their salaries. It's no different. It's creating less money. So after sharing all that, here's what I know. I specifically had to hire a coach to work on my relationship with money. That was solely what we worked on. I could not do it on my own. I needed an outside person looking in because I could not trust or dissect what was truth from what was pattern. It felt so, I'm going to say nuanced. It felt confusing. It felt so ingrained in me that I didn't know even where to start. And so I seeked out a coach specifically around money. And it changed my life. And it will create infinite amounts of money for me, right? Because when you change your relationship with money, you're going to make more money infinitely. So the money I spent on coaching, all of my money on coaching made me more money, but specifically dissecting my relationship with money and investing in that turns around and the investment is infinite. Tenfold, 100-fold in the amount of money I'll make because I've changed at the root, right? So it was worth every penny. So I've done a lot of things on my own. This one I couldn't. And if that feels true for you, then I will invite you to have a conversation with me in a consult scheduled through my show notes on what your relationship with money looks like. I can dissect it for you, what's happening, and let's get you feeling neutral about your money and then turn into empowerment and leadership in your money. And then when you leave me, you feel so confident and you know how to create money. Okay? You see your power because everybody has the power to make money if they desire to make a lot of money. Not everybody does, and that is fine. Okay. But if you have a desire to make a lot of money and you hate your money situation and you feel anxious around your money, and maybe some of my clients know their patterns, but they can't see their way out. And some have no idea where to start. I can help both avenues. So I invite you. The invitation is open. I would love to help you with your relationship with money so that you go out, you make a shit ton of money, and you empower others to do the same. And that's it. I've enjoyed I'm not going to go back over all of them because it was a lot, but I hope that you leave this podcast totally transformed in how powerful you really are with your own money and the power you have and the control you have and how you show up with your money. And I will see you next week. Bye, guys. Thanks for spending time with me today on the You Get to Decide podcast. If you love what you heard, you could follow the show, share it with a friend, or leave a review wherever you listen. The more women we reach, the more women will rise. And if you are ready to go from stuck to unstoppable, go to www.alisongallagher.com to learn all about the first steps to work with me. Come join the movement and see what is possible for you. I'll see you on the inside. But I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.